So I recently went on a big guitar forum and I saw a very interesting thread there that was blowing up with a bunch of views and replies, where somebody posted 2 clips of John Petrucci playing the As I Am solo off of Dream Theater's Train of Thought album, which, by the way, was the first album to turn me on to Dream Theater. The first clip was from 2004 at the Budokan, where Petrucci nailed the solo pretty much flawlessly, and the other clip was from 2015, where Petrucci played the same solo at the Wacken Festival, only this time, according to the person making the forum post, Petrucci looked a lot more tense, he made more mistakes when he played, and allegedly he even played a bit out of time. And that person then asked if it's true that as we age, our ability to play guitar fast goes down, and if our technique degrades in general as we age. Before this gets too out of hand in the comments below, let me just say that I love John Petrucci, I love Dream Theater, and I hope all these guys stay healthy and keep making music well into their 90s. But I thought it was an interesting topic, worthy of making a video on at least, and going back to the thread, a bunch of people replied things like, well, anybody can have an off night, which of course is true, or maybe Petrucci just isn't practicing like he used to, which is kind of true, but not the way you think. We're going to talk about this a little bit later. Or maybe it's his joints that have taken abuse over the years from tens of thousands of hours of playing guitar, kind of going along with the theory that maybe our technique degrades as we age. We'll talk about that also. Or maybe it's because Petrucci took up bodybuilding in his 30s and 40s, and perhaps that was not the smartest move for being a guitar player. Now, my thoughts on the issue are quite a bit different. First of all, we have to be careful about assigning too much weight or too much emotional meaning or significance to an anecdote, or just comparing 2 random video clips side by side, because a simple anecdote does not prove or disprove anything. But it is our nature, it's one of our inborn human biases to try to give meaning to things and try to rationalize events that happen, often through pure chance or just random coincidences. If you want to learn more about that, I recommend a book titled You Are Not So Smart. I forget who the author is, but I'm going to look it up while I'm editing this video. I'm going to put a picture and the author's name somewhere on the screen so you can check it out if you want. My point is, be careful about giving too much weight or meaning to any random one-off clips of your favorite players not playing as well as you think they could or should. Most of the time, the reason why this happens is what I call the curse of playing guitar really, really well. Think of all the guitar and musical skills that somebody like Petrucci has to not only develop, but then also to maintain and increase through the years. Everything from all the flashy, fast, and accurate lead guitar stuff like sweep picking, playing fast scales and scale sequences, 2-hand tapping, string skipping, bends and vibrato. Then there's also rhythm guitar playing, memorizing 14-minute long Dream Theater epics, so musical memory. Then there's also non-guitar playing skills like songwriting and creativity and everything that goes into that. My point is, it's impossible, the better you get, to maintain all your skills at the same consistently high level all the time. So your playing goes through phases. Sometimes you focus more on the physical side of your playing, your chops, your technique and speed. So that part of your playing becomes higher compared to the rest of your skills. Other times you're in the studio writing an album, and so you're focused more on creativity, your ear training, your ability to come up with rhythms and song ideas. So that becomes a higher level in your playing, and your physical chops or your consistency of playing guitar on stage takes a back seat and therefore becomes slightly worse compared to your other skills. Not to mention that when you're a professional musician, you don't really have 8 hours a day to practice guitar, so you kind of have to take what you can get. So because of this, the better you get, the more all your skills are going to go up and down and go through cycles depending on what you're focusing on and where your priorities lie. It is normal that sometimes you're going to be asked to do something that you're simply out of practice on. That does not mean that our playing degrades as we age. It just simply means that particular person is out of practice on that particular set of skills. And unfortunately, the better you get, the wider that gap between your skills being at their best and what people expect from you, and what happens when you don't practice that skill for a while, the wider that gap becomes. It is unfortunate that it is this way, but it kind of is that way. Then there's also what I call the live guitar playing lottery, and what that boils down to is pretty much nobody plays at their best or perfectly on stage all the time. Sometimes you simply play better than others. There's so many things that can happen when you play on stage that you simply don't count on or you can't prepare for, and that anybody in the audience doesn't realize that are happening to you. You may have insects buzzing around as you're playing a guitar solo, contact lens falls out while you're trying to do a string bend or something. All these little things that can happen that are going to throw you off your game that most people don't realize that are happening to you, that are causing you to play play worse than your best. Add to that things like blinding lights in your face that make it hard to concentrate, equipment failures, having to change guitars halfway through a set list, I could keep going down the list. And all these factors, as obvious as they might be to you if you ever played a gig on stage in your life, are the exact reasons why we can't just look at two performances of one guy playing the exact same solo and conclude, hey, if this performance is noticeably worse than this one, and he's also 15 years older than this one, hey, that must be because our technique degrades as we age. Well, there's so many other factors that could be affecting the performance that we can't really draw that conclusion from just watching two video clips. And also, if we are going to have an intelligent conversation about whether or not our guitar technique truly degrades with age, we'd need a way bigger sample size. A sample size of guitar players who push themselves to reach a very high level, world-class level of technique, and then did not die in their prime like Sean Lane, rest in peace, did not have a serious hand injury like Yngwie hitting his car into a tree, and who continued to push themselves to play faster and cleaner and write more demanding music well into their golden years. I'm talking like late 70s, 80s, and 90s. Once we have enough of those players, then we can take a look at what became of their technique, and then we can conclude what's what. But until that happens, and by the way, it's going to be a long while before that happens because electric guitar is a very, very young instrument compared to, say, violin or piano or even classical guitar. So it's going to be a long while before we have a meaningful sample size to look at. So once we do, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But in the meantime, here's what I recommend. If you're not already playing at a level of someone like Petrucci today, then worrying about what's going to happen to your playing when you're 65 or 70 or 75 is kind of a waste of time. The reason why I suspect many 20 or 30 or 40-year-olds worry about that is because they're concerned that their playing is not improving right now, and so they're worried that unless something changes, pretty soon they're going to be 65 and 70, and by that point it'll be too late to do anything about their playing anyway. Well, since we've just established that we don't really know if your technique truly degrades or not, the only thing you can do is focus on what you can control. So focus instead on what you can do today, this week and this month to move your playing forward and make that happen. And then when you're 65 or 70, then we'll see what's becoming of your playing. But I talked about this in my previous videos about goal setting, why you only want to set process-oriented goals because those are the things you can control, not some vague long-term goals with specific deadlines and specific outcomes, because you can't control any of that stuff. So it's useless to even worry about it to begin with. And if you want some help squeezing more progress out of whatever practice time you've got, check out the link in the description of this video. Go to the page on the screen right now. I'm going to show you my free 1-hour masterclass called Guitar Playing Progress Accelerators. These are things I discovered after over 20 years of playing and teaching guitar, and they work amazingly well no matter if you've got 3 hours to practice or 30 minutes to practice. In fact, the less practice time you've got, the more they will help you because each minute of your practice time is a greater percentage of your overall practice time. So if you want some help with that stuff, check out the link, enter your email address, I'll send you the video for free. And since we're talking about Petrucci, I've got one more video right here where I break down some of his non-obvious guitar technique nuances that he doesn't fully explain in any of his videos, but I show you what they are and how you can use them to play faster and cleaner starting today. So watch that video next.